Undertones from Derry released a 4-track EP which took the then punk scene by storm. So much so that the Radio 1 DJ, John Peel, described their single, Teenage Kicks, as the greatest song he'd ever heard. In fact, it's rumoured that he'll have some of its lyrics engraved on his headstone. Well, the film has only been shown once before in Northern Ireland, and that was as part of the Foyle Film Festival in Derry last November. But now the rest of us will have the chance to see it and to wallow in the nostalgia that was the Undertones.
Here's one from Andrew in Humforth, West Yorkshire, saying, "Isn't it about time we heard the best record in the whole history of the world ever, yet again? Well, why not?"
A teenage dream's so hard to beat. Every time she walks down the street, another girl in the neighborhood. When she was mine, she looked so good. I wanna hold her tight. Get teenage kicks right through the night. I'm gonna call her on the telephone, have her over 'cause I'm all alone. I need excitement, oh I need it bad, and it's the best I've ever had. I wanna hold her tight.
Please welcome the producer of that film, Vinny Cunningham, and the former bass player of the Undertones, Micky Bradley. Michael, how are you? Hi, Vinny. Good to see you, good to see you.
You sit down.
Now, you've just come back from QFT. They're screening it at the moment.
Yep.
Many there?
Not bad.
Not too bad, apparently, for a Friday night in Belfast. Like, so
I would say it'd be well attended.
Monsters Inc. are worried, you know. The distributors of Monsters Inc. are worried.
Why?
Because more people are going to see our film.
You're going back shortly after this programme, because you're going to do a question and answer routine.
That's right.
Down there.
This is practice for the question and answer.
Right, I want to talk firstly about the film, Vinny.
yeah.
You've been at this now 7-8 years.
The original idea was in 1992. It was 10 years ago.
What took it so long to get?
Approached the BBC first of all in 1982, and they were interested, but Fergal Sharkey just totally refused to take part. Didn't want to talk about the past, the present, the future.
And that was the problem. That was the hiccup.
He gave very valid reasons. He just wanted to leave it in the past, which is fair enough. We had to respect that.
Did you eventually get to him? 7
years later, all of a sudden, he just agreed. He said, "Yeah, I just want to do this now." So we flew over about 4 days after he agreed to do it before he changed his mind again. You know, so.
And that was the icing on the cake. That was the film, yeah.
Once we had the whole 5 ex-members, that was it, you know.
Right. I'll talk to you more about the film later. I want to take you back, Micky, back to the mid-70s.
Right.
What was the height of the troubles here? Derry was hit probably worse than anywhere. How did the 5 of you get together?
We sort of got together through school and through just hanging around together, you know. None of us were in bands before. We were about 15, 16. And we were sort of, I suppose, looking back, we were fairly boring young fellas.
That's what it was. Just out of boredom, you decided to play.
No, we were actually boring. All we did was sit in O'Neill's house every night.
Oh, right.
We sat in O'Neill's house each night and listened to records, listened to the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and all sorts of things. And John O'Neill, he was the oldest at the time. He was about 17. He was a big boy, you know. He always had an idea for a band, and the rest of us could sort of footer about in guitars, and we always had this idea of the band without ever playing anywhere for about 2 or 3 years.
And where did you practice and things?
We eventually practiced in what's called Mrs. Sums's shed. This is a wee place in Derry. She had this sort of, it was a wee terraced house, and it was this building out the back of it, and we needed somewhere to practice, so we got her dog out of it. Her dog loved it. We got the dog out. And Fergal worked for Radio Rental, so he got all these big polystyrene packing cases, and we soundproofed this wee shed sort of thing.
Seriously?
Desperate fire hazard when you think about it. Of course. Well, we were up there for 2 years, and we were just working on songs, practicing, just getting better all the time.
And who was writing the song?
John O'Neill.
Was writing
John always wrote songs.
But as you said, you were listening to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, but you sort of went into the punk era. Were you sort of well into that? Because you weren't really, but you weren't the pins in your nose type guy.
I know that. My mother wouldn't have let it.
Simple as that.
Well, we loved bands like the Ramones and the Sex Pistols. We loved the music. You know, you're talking about John Peel there. We listened to John Peel all the time, and he was playing punk records, and we were well into it. You know, we started playing versions of songs by the Ramones, as well as writing our own songs in the style of the Ramones. So we sort of, we always considered ourselves punk, but none of us ever had like Mohican haircuts or, you know, the safety pins and so on.
The sort of dairy punk.
Aye, sort of, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't
Played
have
out a wee bit.
Aye.
How did John Peel hear about you then?
Well, Billy Doherty used to always write to John Peel. This is before we made Teenage Kicks. Billy used to write with sort of requests. He used to say, please mention the Undertones, and mention all these people that used to go and see us, you know, Dick Tucker, Eddie McGinley and all this. And John Peel used to read out, and this is for the Undertones in Derry, and he used to play somebody else's record.
Yes.
And then by the time we actually made a record, I think he was probably surprised that he liked it. You know, so it was by a band which he had actually heard of, even though we weren't doing anything.
Yes.
He knew us just from listening to the programme.
But liked it as an understatement. Like, this man has said that it was the greatest record he's ever heard.
I know.
And he played it twice, one after the first time ever on BBC Radio.
Yeah.
He played it and then played it again.
We were listening to him when he did that. We were all sitting in O'Neill's house, and he played the record, and then, you know, we couldn't believe it. He says, I think I'll play that again.
Is that good?
It was brilliant. We just had a laugh, you know.
All this led to fame, because many times did you play Top of the Pops, for example?
About 14, 15 times, you know.
As many as that, did you?
Yeah.
And did you think then, this is it, we are now the stars of the day, we're moving out of Derry, we're going to make it big time?
No, we didn't. And that's one of the things which caused a bit of division within the band, because a lot of us didn't want to move out of Derry, and we actually didn't move. We never lived anywhere apart from Derry during all that time. Obviously, we would go away to do Top of the Pops, we would go and record elsewhere, we would play elsewhere, but whenever we weren't doing Undertone stuff, well, went back to Derry. You know?
Did you give up your jobs?
Okay, yeah.
You did, you went
jobs,
full time, is that?
Well, we didn't have great jobs anyway, you know what I mean?
So-
Fergal gave up radio rentals, the rest of us gave up being in the brew. You know? So there was no great decision there, you know.
So why, when things were going so well, and why did you break up? What was the
Well,
problem?
you see, I think probably in those days, time seemed to go a lot quicker, because we used to make an LP every year, you know, which you wouldn't do now. Bands don't make records every year now. We did, in 4 years, we did like 4 LPs, basically. And the first 2 did quite well. The third didn't do that well, and then the fourth didn't do well at all.
Yeah.
Now, I think if bands were like that now, you would probably stop
Yes.
and take a break and do it. But we thought, no, it's not doing well. And then Fergal decided that he would do better on his own, and the rest of us says, you're right. And we all went, right, let's stop it.
Was it a bitter, acrimonious
No,
breakup?
it wasn't at all. No, it wasn't. He just, we were actually, I remember exactly where we were. We were in Sweden, on tour in Sweden, and we were out doing a photo session. This photographer was taking the photographs, and Fergal was a wee bit grumpy, you know, and whenever we went back to the venue we were playing, Fergal said, I want to leave the band. And we were sitting around, and I says, you're right. I think we should break it up. And everyone just went, aye.
And that was that?
Aye, and that was it. And there was no bad feeling or anything, you know. But it was just saying, I fed up with it.
My goodness. So then why, last year or so, did you get back together again after all these years? What was the prod there that got you together?
It was Billy Doherty, the drummer, he was always sort of, he wasn't pushing it, like, because, you know, there's no point in pushing when people don't want to do something. But Billy always thought it was a good idea to get back together. And myself and Billy used to play with the Saw Doctors the odd time, because they used to do Teenage Kicks as an encore.
That's right.
So they would, every so often, if they were playing Galway or Glasgow, they would give us a phone call and say, do you just want to come down and come on? And we were, aye, all right, we'll crack. So then one year they asked us to do it in Galway, and Billy asked John and Damien, the 2 guitar players, would they fancy doing it? And they says, aye. So we found ourselves, the 4 of us, together, and we sort of thought, well, why don't we knew Fergal wouldn't be interested, so why don't we try and play just for a bit of crack? And then they were opening this place called the Nerve Centre in Derry.
That's right. And you played there. That was a big...
That was the sort of thing. It was an excuse for us to get back together again, and it went really well. We loved it. Like, and we got Paul McClune as a singer, a friend of
And
ours.
Fergal
you know.
refused you. Fergal didn't.
Well, to be honest, we never asked them.
All right.
Because we'd been offered, about 93, we'd been offered an awful lot of money to do some shows, and Fergal didn't want to do it. In fact, I was the one that was delegated to try and persuade him, because it was not like £200,000 for 6 shows.
You were
know what I mean?
offered?
Aye.
That's good money in anybody's language.
It certainly is. And I thought that Fergal would be okay for it. I says, hey, Fergal will do it. And then the word came back, he didn't want to do it. So I was told to phone him. It was funny. Sure, you don't want to do it? No. And it was like, he just knew from the first sentence, wasn't interested. So then whenever the opportunity came around to reform, we knew there's no point in asking him.
Right. So you brought in somebody else and you've played some great gigs since then.
Well, it's good crack.
That is, it's
It is
great
good.
crack. This film has been a labour of love for you, Vinny.
Yes,
Because you're not just a filmmaker, like, you were a fan of these guys.
aye, it's right. since 1978. Like it was what I was 14 back in 1978. I was 12 in 1978. Sorry.
Is it true when these boys were playing away in Sweden and all these things, you boys had no money to travel to see them?
No.
But you rarely missed a concert.
Yeah, wee birdie's been talking to you.
Yes. Tell us how you managed to hear.
We found this telephone box in Derry, and all you had to do was put 10 pence on it, and you could ring anywhere in the world and talk for as long as you wanted for 10 pence. So me and my brother and 2 other friends used to go down to this phone box when they were on tour and ring the places they were playing. And when the girl or the fella answered the phone, we used to say, don't talk, just hold the phone for 5 or 10 minutes. So we would go down to this phone box every night and actually follow them on tour from this phone box, you know. 9 times out of 10 it worked, or the other time was they heard the Irish accent, they hung up straight away, you know. But
where was this telephone?
it was in Rosemount.
At Rosemount.
So BT's watching now.
You owe them a
Thanks
fortune.
very much.
You owe them a fortune. So the film is made up of old footage and new footage with the boys reformed.
We're actually very lucky because obviously when we had the idea to make the film, the band weren't getting back together again. So there's nothing better than making a documentary with a band and then they actually get back together again.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you can bring the story right up to date. Like when people go and see the film, they see, for example, there's a clip there of Ash playing Teenage Kicks,
excellent,
which brings the whole story full circle, you know. So
I'm dying to see the whole thing. I really am dying to see it. And it's going to go, hopefully it'll go in after tonight and tomorrow night, it'll go a bit more UK and we'll see.
Oh, there's at least 32 screenings lined up now for.
Excellent. Now, Teenage Kicks didn't do as well as My Perfect Cousin. And we have a video of My Perfect Cousin. Where was this shot? Any idea?
We have a great idea.
Where?
In the Orchard Gallery in Derry.
This was shot?
Yeah.
So we've got the footage here. But look out for a very young Vinny in this. Watch this here. This.
He's making lots of noise, playing along with the art school boys. Girls try to attract his attention, but what a shame, it's a total rejection. He will never be left on the shelf, cause Kevin, he's in love with himself. Oh my cousin, what I like to do, he doesn't. He's his family's pride and joy, his mom.
Did you spot him there? Did you spot him? No, hold on now. If you didn't spot him, I know some people may not have spotted him, but I'd like to see a little up close. Could we play it again maybe and we'll hone in on Vinny this time?
I'm going to kill up with her somewhere.
Because you're a very good looking young fella, Vinny. Where are you? Do you know where you are now, Vinny? Just tell us when to stop.
There.
Stop! What age were you there, Vinny?
14.
14. And how did you get into do the video?
We used to call in the Orchard Gallery in Derry every Saturday, look at the art exhibitions and all. And one Saturday we called, and it was my birthday actually, the 29th of March 1980. And the Orchard Gallery was closed, so we knocked at the door to find out why. And the next thing, the director said, "Do you want to be in a film?" He brought us in.
Oh, this was you.
It was actually Julian Temple, the guy that directed the Great Rock and Roll Swindle with the Sex Pistols, made that video, you know.
Little did you
it was
think,
a great birthday present.
Little did you think that day that so many years later you'd have your own film out and show.
I wish I'd had hair now.
Micky, it's a great show. I'd love to watch more and more of the Undertones. I wish you would all get back and do more gigs because you were absolutely fabulous.
Thank you very much.
I'm really looking forward, Vinny, to seeing this.
Thanks, Terry.
Will you please thank Micky Bradley and Vinny Cunningham for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,